Hey y'all, welcome back to our podcast, Neville's Wish Fulfilled. This is episode 3. We're gonna discuss money, and of course, I'm here with my permanent guest. And yeah, we're gonna discuss something that's probably on everybody's mind. We're gonna talk about money, um, Neville's position on it, how it may be one of the easiest things to manifest. What are some of the mental blocks? Yeah, let's get into it. How
Sounds
are
like a
you?
good plan. Good to be back with you, and let's see what you have in mind exactly for today.
Cool. All right. First one, of course. Shoot, this is Neville's wish fulfilled. So let's talk about Neville a little bit and his position on money.
hmm
Uh, what do you think his position was? Was he a materialist? I know that there's a big debate online in the online community whether Neville made a lot of money from his lectures. I mean, some people say that he was just in it for the money. What's the truth? What do you think?
Well, I understand the confusion because Neville didn't have anything against money. He always said, if you want money, you should have it. If you want a lot of money, you should have a lot of money. And that can make some people think that he was a materialist himself. But actually, Neville was very attached to his spiritual mission and he believed in it strongly. At the same time, Neville was someone who liked to live comfortably. So he was not, didn't believe in self sacrifice in the sense that living under a bridge and teaching spiritual truths. He liked to, and he spoke about it openly, he wasn't hiding it, that he likes to stay at a nice hotel, take care of his wife and daughter, and, buy nice things for himself, have a nice dinner. But he was not a materialist, what we call a materialist. Someone who's, has a passion for money. His brother was a materialist, and he talks about it. His brother Victor. Neville was not born in a wealthy family. He was born in this little island in Barbados, in a family with lots of kids, 10 children, and they struggled for a long time until they made it. They made it big in business, thanks to the father and his brother Victor. And they would be materialistic, right? In when if you compare and see, whereas Neville is someone who has no problems with the concept of abundance, and he likes that for everyone, himself included. And sure, he did charge for lectures. Everybody did. They would pay a dollar or something like that, which is the equivalent of buying a bottle of milk. In that times, prices, and it would add up to something pretty good, so he could live comfortably, probably sell some of his books, which is his work. And he would receive, he would give lectures in other cities, and he was paid for a set of 10 lectures, maybe, for 2 weeks. And all of these things would bring money. But that does not make him a materialist in any way. Or also, it does not mean that he's in it for the money. If you listen to the man for just 1 hour, you realize that he believes in it very, very
Oh
deeply.
gosh, yeah.
He's not just faking it to get people's money. That's completely absurd, to me.
I mean, we also live in a world where you kind of do have to have money, so
Right.
there is that aspect. So I do understand, like, you have a, you do the work, you put in the work, and people are curious about it and want to know more. You write a book. I mean, you should be paid for those kinds of things, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, money is such a touchy subject because I feel like Eastern and Western
hmm
religions talk about money in different ways. Um, but at one point on the sub, you said that money is the best thing that you can manifest. You want to elaborate?
Yeah. Yeah. No, certainly, and I have not changed my opinion. And for a few reasons, I think that if you're looking for a big project to manifest, not seeing a yellow car on the highway, but something that can change your life, I will always say go for the money first,
Why?
because money is easier for the mind to accept in many ways. One thing that I've learned in the manifesting community is that one third or maybe one half are here to manifest love. And usually they have a very specific person in mind. Now, with that, the error margin is zero. Either you get it or you don't. But with money, you don't want specific banknotes, right? You don't want a specific account or a specific channel through which money should come to you. Money is very impersonal, and money is everywhere. You want your SP, there's just one, right? That you want. You have someone very specific in mind. But money, we're surrounded by money, literally, mountains of it. And it has no personality, no mind of its own, no volition of its own. Sure, you can say it has to come from someone, or someone will be involved in the process of giving you the money, but you are always very, very flexible.
Yeah.
I want $1 million. I don't care where it comes from. I'm not hung up on some channel or some source, or I'm not dictating that Jimmy has to give me my $1 million.
But if he wants to, he definitely can.
Hey, he should, right? Probably. But it can come from any source. So I think that in that sense, money is easier to manifest. It's easier on the mind to accept that money can come to you. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that if you have money, you have fewer problems. It's just the way it is. So if you have fewer problems, it's a lot easier for you to manifest your SP or whatever you want.
Yeah.
From the safety and
Yeah.
and just the comfort, right, of a life of no worries and no concerns, material concerns of any kind, because we
Yeah.
live in a physical world. If you're in the Western world, everybody says, what is he worth, right? That's the question. And they don't talk about what are they worth in terms of degrees or in terms of work. All they care about is how much money are they making. So you see, your self-concept or self-worth in our world is tied to money. We're not going to sit here and talk about whether this is right or not. This is pointless, right? We're not going to change the way society functions overnight anyway. So you have to work within the system, and our self-esteem is tied to money. So should you be a millionaire, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
So if you're a millionaire, if you get all this money, you manifest it, your self-concept goes through the roof instantly. Not only for yourself, but society treats you differently immediately.
Well, I think that it's like maybe people don't notice it, but if you can't pay your bills and, like struggling to make rent, whatever it is, just struggling with money, I mean, that's on your mind in the background probably all the time.
That's right.
So having that extra money, I mean, gosh, the level of like the load that it can take off of your brain to think about other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so having the money makes everything easier to manifest. It's twice as easy, if not more.
And if you can manifest money, you know that you can manifest money, so why couldn't I manifest something else?
Absolutely. And if you fail, okay, so what? You have millions.
Yeah.
Right? You can find a little consolation in a luxury trip or some things that you like. You can afford them.
Yeah.
So you can go to bed with zero anxiety, or even if it's a problem that's health or something else that money doesn't solve, maybe, or love, but damn, you can approach it, from with higher chances of fixing it. So that's why I recommend money as being your first big manifestation. Just go for money.
Now, this kind of like leads in perfectly to my next question. Obviously, there's a saying that money doesn't bring happiness, but we kind of touched on it a little bit, that it can ease, I think, anxieties and stress levels, which in turn can help you manifest other things or have a better outlook on yourself in life. Well, what are your thoughts on it? About money doesn't bring happiness. Do you agree with that?
Well, in my native tongue, we say money doesn't bring happiness, but the quantity of money does. So it's a little cynical, but there's truth in it that goes back to what we just discussed, that it solves a lot. And what you cannot solve with money, you solve with a lot of money, right? You solve with more money. So I don't think that money brings happiness in the sense of lasting happiness. It brings happy moments. It puts you in a position to enjoy life. I don't think it brings happiness to experience. Yes.
Yeah.
And when I say that money doesn't bring happiness, we look at facts. Are all millionaires happy?
Gosh, no.
If this were true, that money brings happiness, then no millionaires would die of overdose. right? No
Yeah.
millionaires would be, commit suicide or just look unhappy or be unhappy. They wouldn't have any of these issues. And you might say, well, it's not the money that brought those issues, but money didn't fix it, clearly, right? So it wasn't enough. So money does not bring lasting happiness. Um, but you should have money because money is a symbol of freedom in the end. You just mentioned having choices and experiencing. Well, how am I going to experience anything unless I have money to do it? In our society, that is the symbol of freedom. Yes. Yeah. And freedom is what you want. The Neville would always say that if you know the law will set you free. And he's kind of paraphrasing, know the truth, and the truth will set you free, right from the gospel. So if you have money, you have freedom in the physical world. That is the measure, that's the unit, right? That brings you freedom. Because what is freedom in the end? Freedom is choice, right? What gives you choice? Money. So you need to have it. Because what brings lasting happiness? Freedom does. Freedom from everything, really. And
the rat race, right?
Yeah.
Especially that just that freedom gives you the opportunity to, I think, reflect more on the law.
That's right.
And maybe there's more like wiggle room.
Right.
Instead of like, oh my gosh, if this thing that I'm trying to manifest does not happen and I don't get to pay rent, that's a scary feeling.
Right.
Then there's so much emotion attached to it.
Yes.
And sometimes that can be, we'll have to touch on that a little bit more. And we did a little bit, I think, in the first episode of persisting and detaching.
Yes.
And yeah, that plays into it. If you're anxiously attaching to it, that can be a problem. But I think if you have like money in your pocket, that is like almost like a protective barrier. It leads to less stress and more detachment in a way.
Right. Well, and when I mentioned freedom, I think that money gives you a chance to gain the ultimate freedom, which is of a spiritual kind.
Absolutely.
And because if you have money, I always say that the Buddha was a prince. He was rich.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean that if he was rich, he was not interested. He didn't have spiritual questions, and he didn't keep the money. He wasn't interested in money afterwards. So see, that's the ultimate point when you don't even need this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But without being bogged down by daily troubles.
The daily troubles.
Exactly. You give yourself a chance to think about spiritual questions and answer them for yourself. And everybody should have money. I think Jim Carrey said that everybody should have money to realize that it's not in the money. The happiness doesn't come from the material. Yeah. But you got to have the money first. Unless you have it, you dream about it.
Yeah. Because you don't know.
That's right. You're going to read a quote and you say, yeah, sounds good, of course. But then it's like, where's my money? Right? Because you still think that if you had the money, then it's all going to be great. Yeah. And it's good to have it to see that, it fixes these problems. Mm-hmm. But really, the big prize, that's right, the big prize is going beyond that and getting to the point where, I can still keep the money, but I'm going deeper into my spiritual quest and journey, and I'm finding something, the pearl of great price, right? It's a lot more valuable than all the riches that you can assemble in the physical world.
Yeah, agreed. I think somewhere in the Upanishads it says, may I become famous, may I become richer than the richest, that I may serve you better.
Exactly.
It kind of plays into your point you just made a little bit.
That's right. You have to have these things in the world before you can help. You have to help yourself before you can help someone else, or you can help the world.
Put your mask on before you help put somebody else's.
Absolutely, on a flight. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Well, how can somebody assume that they have money if they have a lot of debt or unpaid bills? How can they assume that state and maintain it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and many people struggle with that and have that question. So let's talk about it for a second. We discussed the subconscious mind last time.
Yeah.
And the way this works is like this. The reasoning mind cannot believe something is true unless it understands what makes it true. So if you have unpaid bills stacked on your desk, and I tell you, actually, you are abundant, you have abundance. Your reasoning mind will not believe me, will want to believe me, desperately maybe, but you will not believe me unless I give you a reason to believe me. And this is where the subconscious mind comes into play. And this is purely scientific, not metaphysical. In the 19th century, with mesmerism at the beginning, and then even more scientifically with hypnotism, they discovered the functions of the subconscious mind. And I discussed this with Thomas Troward on the sub quite a bit. But it's essentially, under hypnosis, they found that the subconscious mind has no reasoning powers and will accept any premise you give it and start working from that premise. So you're under hypnosis and I tell you that you're swimming and you're out of breath and your body starts behaving like that. I tell you that you're in the desert and you're thirsty and you start, your mouth is dry. I tell you that, you're a famous person and you start talking like that person and give a speech like Churchill. If you have ever heard Churchill speak, then you can talk like him in his accent also. So the subconscious mind can do all of these things and it does not question it. Your subconscious mind doesn't say, what are you talking about? I'm not in the Atlantic swimming. I'm on a chair. You're crazy. It doesn't do that. So you see, when we go back to our little problem here, your bills stacked on your desk. If you understand the functioning of the subconscious mind, and I tell you, you have abundance. You understand that you think abundance because the subconscious mind doesn't know about your bills. It knows about your feeling, about your identity. And if you can decouple mentally from your bills and hook into this other identity of abundance, your subconscious will start working from that premise. And now I'm going to make a statement that's metaphysical, but whatever the subconscious accepts, the physical world must reflect. Right? That's one of Neville's mantras. Whatever the inner man sees, the outer man must do. So you are shifting mentally because you understand and accept these truths that I'm just explaining now only briefly. But the larger point that I kept making is that you have to study the law to give your reasoning mind enough reasons to believe these things that otherwise sound crazy. It may sound insane, right? Neville would say that all the time, this sounds insane to someone. To be told that you just assume and that's it, well, that's crazy. But if you understand the mechanics of it, it's no longer crazy because you are dealing with a function of the mind that does not require evidence before implementing something or before believing that something is true. You cannot make the subconscious mind adopt the functioning of the reasoning mind. You cannot bring it to this level. You have to take your reasoning mind to the level of the subconscious mind and work on its terms, with it on its terms. And that's how, with your question, how can someone assume they have money if they have a lot of debt? Well, that's how they do it, by understanding these things and by merely applying a principle. That's all you do. You apply a principle. You know that this is how it works, and you just do it. That's it. And you're done.
So they need to know the law and they need to apply it, understanding that their subconscious mind can create whatever they believe. What are some of the mental blocks that happen that maybe make people not believe?
Well, there's always mental blocks, and we discussed last time a little bit of, and we should probably do it again. Now, the biggest mental block is, how am I going to get this money?
Yeah.
So the more money you want, the more this question pops up, right? If you want,
you don't question it whenever it's like $5.
That's right. So if you want $100 or if you want money like that, then your mind will be, well, I can come up with right now with 5 ways that I could get this money. But should you want big money, like $1 million kind of money, then immediately, like instantly, even before you finish that thought, your mind will say, how are you going to get that money, you idiot? Right? You never had anything close to $1 million. Nobody in your family had anything close to $1 million. None of your friends, and you've never heard of anybody making this kind of money out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, right? Mm-hmm. Because you see, that's going back to the previous question. You're not thinking on the terms of the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
You're thinking on the terms of the reasoning mind. And the reasoning mind will only believe what it can see, will only believe in facts, will believe in what we call common sense, will believe in what we call probability, odds, and those are always calculated based on your previous experience, based on your interaction with others and what they say about the topic, and you'll be influenced, and that's what drives your beliefs. So the moment you say, where is this money going to come from, you are not thinking in the absolute, right? As Troward would say, you're in the relative. You're on the level of the reasoning mind that is looking for evidence first in order to believe. So one of the big mental blocks is really the inability to detach from the functioning of the reasoning mind and to adopt, to get more aligned, I guess, with the way the subconscious mind functions. Because if you can go to that level, then you're not going to have this question anymore. First of all, it's not your business or your responsibility how the money comes to you. You don't have to figure it out. So you kind of have to stop trying to figure it out. You have to try to stop to work it out in your head. And Neville would always say, don't ask me how. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I know that if 1,000,000 people are needed to help you, to aid you in the fulfillment of your
Then it'll happen.
desire, then they will.
You just need to see the end.
That's right. And you wouldn't know where to find them, he would say.
I mean, think about how crazy things happen in life. Like, the reasoning mind really doesn't have all the information anyways.
Right.
Things happen in the craziest ways.
Absolutely.
Ways that you do not see.
That's right.
You know? So.
All the time, things happen that go against the odds.
Oh my gosh.
All the time.
All the time.
Right? Is winning the lottery not against the odds?
Yeah, and I think like things like that are so helpful. Like
Exactly.
realizing that.
That's right.
Like, crazy things happen all the time.
Well, someone always wins.
Somebody always wins the lottery.
Right?
Hey.
And there's like millions or hundreds of millions odds, you know, to win.
Shout out to that guy in Arkansas.
That's right. You know, 800 million.
Yeah, love.
That person had still 1 in 200 million chances, like everyone else. So when you see these things happening, it's even another reason to abandon, you know, this tyranny of the reasoning mind that makes you so limited, you know, makes you limited, but at the same time, because you like to feel safe about our conclusions, right?
Yes,
we like to feel safe. We don't like to admit that we don't know shit, right? I like to think that I'm smart. I like to think that I can put 2 and 2 together. I like to think that I have facts and I can work from those facts. I like to think that I'm a problem solver. I like to think all these things. But the fact is, I don't really know anything.
Not with that mind. No.
Not with that mind. And am I willing to surrender this little information that I have and surrender the tendency, the compulsion to draw conclusions from it? Am I willing to surrender it to a higher power to do it for me? It wants to do it for me, but I need to let it do it. If I keep interfering with questions such as, how am I going to get the money? I've never had such money. I have bills to pay. I'm worried. What happens tomorrow? So these are the blocks that are the main ones.
Yeah.
And the other block that happens is you want the money so much, you like to think that you live in the end. People like to think, right, that, oh, I got it now. I'm good. But then a bill comes in or something happens and the whole thing is shattered, right? So you realize you've never had it to begin with. Because if you are in a state of knowing, well, if you know, then you know, right? If you know you have 1,000,000, then okay, there's a bill. It will be taken care of, right? So you have to think, like to react, especially like someone who does not worry about money. So you see, some of the blocks are kind of inherent to the reasoning mind, and some of the blocks have to do with your desire to be in the state of the wish fulfilled.
Yeah.
You really, really want to be able to say, yeah, I'm living in the end now, you know, but as more like wishful thinking.
Wanting to believe.
That's right.
Versus believing.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I think this kind of leads in perfectly to the next question I have, which everybody always hears things about like abundance being your birthright.
Yeah.
Especially in like newer New Thought books,
Mhm.
I think that that's kind of discussed more, or that slogan is kind of talked about more, or other variations like it. Is there truth to this, or is this just kind of inspirational fluff?
Well, it can be inspirational fluff if you don't understand what's behind it. It can also be adding insult to injury, right? I mean, I have all these bills, all these problems. You're telling me these things that abundance is my birthright, but I don't feel any of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so down in the dumps here that you're giving me these high level slogans that are almost annoying to me.
Yeah.
So, but there's truth in it if we go back to the philosophy of the New Thought and the God of the New Thought,
Yeah, I think so too.
which is a God of unity,
Mm-hmm.
right? The New Thought and Neville's conception of God, there's nothing but God in the world. That's one of the statements that he made again and again and again. Now, what does that mean? There is only God in the world. It means that everything is an expression of God. Now, if everything is an expression of God, it can only have the attributes of God. It cannot have other attributes, otherwise, it would not be God in expression. So, unless we say that God is poor or lacking or afraid, then we cannot really adopt those attributes and associate them with ourselves and our life as being fundamentally true. We can make them true because mind is creative. You can go into your basement and see a shadow and think it's a monster and be afraid and be panicked. It doesn't mean it's a monster, it's just a shadow.
Yeah.
It's real to you though in the moment. So you can see poverty in the same way, like this shadow that's kind of following you around. But it doesn't make it true, essentially true.
Right.
So
But if you
abundance,
think about it for yourself, like
right?
constantly, then
That's true to
it
you,
just, yeah, it becomes true in your life.
right? And again, your subconscious gives you what you're thinking of
Mm-hmm.
in
And
terms
what
of
you believe about yourself and your
exactly.
situation.
That's right.
Sure.
So abundance is your birthright. It has to be seen in this context of everything is God, and if God is abundance, so are you. But the problem is that what is needed is a true knowing of this fact. Most people have an intellectual acceptance of this thing.
Yeah.
This whole thing I described about the nature of God and the nature of the world as being made of God's substance, essentially, in the expression of God, all of that is abstraction to 99.9% of the people. If they even accept it to begin with, they might just reject it intellectually, and
Mm-hmm.
then we don't have anything. But even if you accept it intellectually, if you do not, your reactions will indicate exactly how deep your acceptance is. Because again, if you're getting unpaid bills, unexpected expenses, and things of that nature, and you worry, well, then your acceptance is not to the point of knowing. Because if I know, then I don't worry. I never would say that. You cannot worry and tell me that you believe that imagining creates reality. If you truly believe it, you're not going to worry because worry
Yeah.
is a confession of your lack of faith in this principle.
Believing two opposing things at once.
Exactly, is to be double-minded, as
Yeah.
it says in the Bible, or
Yeah.
serving two masters at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, as Jesus put it. So you gotta choose this day who you will serve.
Yeah.
Will you serve this notion that everything is God and therefore everything is abundance, everything is perfect, everything is complete? Or will you believe in separation? Will you believe in duality? Will you believe in arbitrary forces that are pressing upon you, and you're at the mercy of the external? What are you going to believe? But whatever you believe, it's good to stay with it. So the ultimate is to get to the state of knowing. And this state of knowing that you should aspire to is easier to reach once you have the money,
Yeah.
So you got to get enough knowing to get the money, and then you can have all your efforts channeled towards gaining more understanding and more realization.
I agree. So, what are some good techniques for manifesting money?
Well, if the world has anything to offer, it's techniques. Too many of them, right? It's all techniques,
Yeah.
and to the point where people believe that is the technique that manifests. And there's Any technique can work. That is the truth. But the best technique is the feeling of abundance. We're talking money right now.
Yeah.
So the feeling of abundance is the best technique. If you can generate how Neville would always say, how did it feel like if it were true that you are now the man you want to be, the woman you want to be? How did it feel like? What would you do? So just play with it mentally. How would it feel like if you had $1 million? If someone just came to you and said you have $1 million, how do you react? How do you feel? How do you spend your time? In what mindset do you find yourself if you have that kind of money?
Yeah, if you had the same bill, but you had $1 million.
That's right. How do you
how would
react to
you
that
feel?
bill?
How would you react? Yeah.
Exactly. And again, this is not delusion. If you understand the functioning of the subconscious mind, this is not living in delusion. The feeling of the wish fulfilled or the feeling of having abundance right now is transmitting the subconscious mind an identity. And to the extent that you can maintain that identity without breaking, it's like staying in character almost as much as you can. And you do it because you understand how this the mechanics of manifestation work, right? That's how it works. You have to stay in that state. So the best technique is to assume the feeling of abundance. And you might say, well, I've never had money. I don't know how abundance feels. Okay, but you know what you're looking for. What do you want to get from money? Is it freedom? Is it a sense of ease? Is it a sense of, there's definitely a nuance that you can generate, right? You just feel relaxed. You just feel that the world is yours. You just feel anything that makes you feel good is a feeling of abundance. You have no worries. There must have been moments in life when you had some positive feelings that you can just summon into your mind for a moment. So if you can do that, but in terms of techniques, you can have visual aids. You can imagine, if you are someone who visualizes, you can imagine money. There's this booklet from the 1920s called Dancing Dollars. Right? The lady saw banknotes or silver dollars dancing before her eyes. You can see that, or Neville talks about counting money, or people seeing like money raining on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one.
Like this stuff dropping on you. Well, I don't care. It's a mountain of money. You're swimming in it. Whatever makes you get into the mood. What is the feeling of the wish fulfilled? Neville said it's a mood, right? Get into the mood of having what you want, and try to generate that mood as often as possible and make it your habitual state. Forget about techniques in terms of doing work. Can you feel it? Try to feel it. How would it feel like? And stay with that as much as you can, and stay with it because you understand the subconscious mind. You understand you're not the crazy person doing crazy things, desperate, delusional, and you're just applying a principle. That's all you're doing, and it works.
Well, I just love talking to you. You have so much information.
Hey, I could talk about this, all day long. So I'm always looking forward for the next episode.
I'm always looking forward to talking about dancing dollars and manifesting with you.
That's a great topic.
Let
them dance, baby. Let them
dance like millions.
Millions of them. That's
the
right.
Rockettes of just dancing dollars.
All the way into the horizon. Banknotes dancing.
Well, that's probably going to wrap it up for this episode. Well, thank y'all so much. And, we hope to have another podcast in about 2 weeks. I think we're going to talk about your 5 steps.
Sounds good. Yeah. Let's do that.
What I'm thinking about. So,
okay.
Well, all right. Y'all take it easy. Have a good night. Good day. Good morning. Shoot. Whenever y'all are listening to this. And we'll see you back in the next 2 weeks.
All right, guys. See you soon.